Sorry. Good morning. The hearing board of the South Coast Air Quality Management District is in session. Today is Tuesday, October 15th, 2019. The time is 9:10 a.m. and we are meeting in the hearing board room in Diamond Bar. We have one change to our calendar for today, and that is the matter of Forged Metals, Inc., case number 6111-2 for a short variance has been rescheduled to the 16th. I believe it's now off calendar. Is that? Well, in any event, on our calendar for today, it's been rescheduled. That leaves us with one hearing for today, and that is James Hardie Building Products, Inc., case number 5694-2 for an emergency variance. And who is here today representing James Hardie Building Products?
Hello, thank you. I'm Nick Zuzaklis, Director of Environmental Health and Safety for James Hardie.
Thank you. And can you spell your name for the record, Mr. Zuzaklis?
Yeah, it's T-Z-O-U-R-T-Z-O-U-K-L-I-S. No worries. T-Z-O-U-R-T-Z-O-U-K-L-I-S.
Thank you. And who is representing the executive officer this morning?
His name is Nick.
Nick?
N-I-C-K, yes.
Teresa Barrera on behalf of the executive officer.
Thank you. A couple of things. First of all, Mr. Balagopalan had something to put on the record with regard to this facility.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring board's attention that I was out at the facility on inspection with the permitting engineer, I think in about 5 years ago, doing a site visit. Okay. And that shouldn't bias my participation in the hearing today.
And I assume there's no objection to Mr. Balagopalan sitting in today?
No objection.
And no objection from?
No.
Okay. The petitioner, we'll call you petitioner. Also, we've received, we should mark it so that we don't forget to do so. We have not yet gotten to the part of the hearing which I'll explain where we're going to have a hearing on the merits yet, but let's mark we've received proposed emergency variance conditions, and we'll mark those as Exhibit A as an apple for the district. Okay, and before we begin, I'm going to ask anyone who wishes to give any evidence today and testify today to please begin by rising to be sworn in for today. Please raise your right hand. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Mr. Zuzaklis, are you familiar with the hearing board process or who we are?
It's been a while, but yes, I'm fairly familiar.
Okay. Today's hearing, you're asking for an emergency variance. You've also asked for short variance, is that correct?
Yeah, we need to go through this first.
So then the question I have for you before we begin is, would you like to convert your request for an emergency variance, which generally is when there's an emergency, we can get through a finding of good cause, which I'll explain in a moment, but that the situation can be remedied within 30 days, versus an interim variance, which is a bridge, an emergency under emergency conditions, to a short or a regular variance. So it's pretty much the same findings, but they have a different purpose.
The catastrophic, well, I need to think this through. The catastrophic failure that we incurred, the repair time's 12 to 14 weeks. Is that right, Cody?
Okay.
So it's going to be a while.
So beyond 30 days?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so then we will convert it to an interim variance. So we'll refer to it in those terms, but it's very similar to the findings we need to make for an emergency variance. And let me explain those first so that I can explain the process of the hearing board today. In cases of emergency or interim variances, we're here today without notice to the public. And so because of that, we can only continue to hear the merits of today's matter and your request for an interim variance, if we can find good cause to do so in absence of notice to the public. And we have several findings that we need to make. So what we'll do is we're going to bifurcate the hearing process. So the first thing we're going to do is have an opening and hear testimony on the findings for good cause, and then the board will deliberate and make a determination as to whether we can find good cause. And those, so that you're aware, those findings are as follows. First of all, we need to make the finding that the facility is in violation, or the violation is imminent. So we'll have to discuss that. So it's a timing issue. Also, we need to understand, which is very similar to the beyond reasonable control finding for a variance, that the circumstances that led to the violation could not have reasonably been avoided by petitioner or anticipated in sufficient time to provide for public notice. So that's number 2. Number 3 has to do with exercising diligence in petitioning for an interim variance as soon as you knew or should have known that a variance would more likely than not be needed. So that is the standard there. And finally, we need to know what is the harm, essentially. So if an interim variance is denied today, between now and when you could be heard, that is the relevant time period we're looking at. So that's about 16 days for the short variance, I believe, has been scheduled for the 31st, I believe. In that amount of time, what is the harm if you are not able to receive an interim variance today to the facility? So, and if you need reminders, we can also remind you throughout. So with that, and you understand the process, we'll be able to ask questions. Ms.
Sure.
Barrera will ask questions.
Yes.
Do you have a brief opening statement you'd like to make on good cause findings?
Yeah, we have, what we did is we put together a short PowerPoint that basically summarizes the petition. If you would like to, if we could walk you through that. I should also mention, I have the plant manager, Cody Hawley, here with me, and then also our consultant from Trinity Consultants, Vineet Masaraha,
Okay.
my other side.
So would you, if you want to give this, are you also going to be giving testimony? I saw that you are under oath.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do that. Why don't you go ahead and give your presentation?
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll walk you through, and wanted to give you a brief overview of the facility in question. If you want to go ahead, let's go ahead and, a little bit of an overview on James Hardie. James Hardie is the global leader in fiber cement. We have operations around North America, Australia, Asia Pacific, and now in Europe also. However, the bread and butter of the company is North America. We have soon to be 10 manufacturing facilities in the United States, and we make, you've probably seen our products, we make siding, backer board panels. It's all fiber cement type products for both the exterior and interior in homes. You'll see at Home Depot and Lowe's, the backer board that's very popular. We're on over 8 million homes in North America. Go ahead. The facility in Fontana, it's kind of near and dear to our hearts. It was the original fiber cement operation in North America for James Hardie. So fiber cement in the United States grew up in James Hardie in Fontana. The facility opened, I think, circa 88, somewhere in the late 80s. So it's been in operation there for a long time. It's a relatively small plant. It's a minor source, not subject to reclaim or Title V. But it's the original facility in North America for James Hardie, and it's also co-located next to our R&D facility where we have a lot of our research scientists. We've been below the annual emission reporting threshold for the last 5 years. No notices of violation in the past 20 years. Last notice to comply was in 2009. It was actually around our old boiler that we had a catastrophic failure on 2008. We received a permit to construct a new boiler, the one that actually failed recently in 2013. I'll turn it over to Cody. He'll describe the manufacturing process for your information.
So I'm Cody Hawley. I'm the plant manager at the Fontana facility.
Okay, so wait. I'd like to keep it at one
Okay.
person testifying at a time,
Okay,
but
I can do it, that's fine. Yeah, I'm familiar with the process.
are you sure?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Because otherwise we can try and figure out a way to
No, I'm
just
good with that, that's
have you
fine.
all testify and ask questions of whomever,
I
but
mean, if I need to confer, I guess I can confer with the team here.
why don't you do it as you've already prepared to do and have, but please, before you speak, if you can just, let me step back. Is there a way for you to just give us an opening and then we can hear from Ms. Barrera what her position is, and then we can come back to you if this is going to be the staple of your testimony for the day? Is it the
Yeah.
staple of your testimony?
Yeah, this is, because we basically summarized, we were going to walk through the failure, what
Okay.
happened,
Okay.
why we don't think it was preventable.
Okay. So let's do this. Let us is the gentleman next to you the only other person who's going to be doing this presentation?
Cody and Vineet, both of them,
Okay.
yeah.
So why don't we introduce them each? And then, so if you can state your name, spell it, tell us your title for the record, and that you took the oath today. I know you did, but if you can say it for the record.
Yeah, my name is Vineet Masuraha, and I work with the Trinity Consultants as a managing director. My name would be, yeah, first name is Vineet, Vineet. And last name is Masuraha, Masuraha. And I work with Trinity Consultants as a
And-
managing director.
Thank you. And you took the oath today?
Yes.
Okay, and then the other gentleman, if you can introduce yourself, and then when each of you speaks, if you could just say your name in the record so that it's clear who is speaking.
My name's Cody Hawley, C-O-D-Y, H-A-W-L-E-Y. I'm the James Hardie Fontana plant manager. I took the oath today.
Thank you very much. Mr. Masuraha, you may continue.
Yeah, so this facility, actually, as Nick mentioned, mostly it used to be when James Hardie acquired this facility, they had two other adjoining plants, but today it's mostly is a sheet production facility. It makes the cement fiber board where you are actually mixing various raw material. Mostly, predominantly, you have a lot of cement in there, plus other materials such as pulp, virgin pulp plus alumina, and then you produce a slurry. Slurry gets fed to the sheet plants, and once you produce these green sheets, they go for these autoclaves, and autoclave are curing these sheets, and then you need a steam to cure these sheets. And once these green sheets go into the autoclave, they get cured, and then eventually you come back to the process in the finishing line, and then you apply various coating products to produce the final product, which gets shipped out in the area. And so we are here today for asking for a variance for our backup boiler. There are two boilers, as you could see in the next slide. We have two boilers. One is our main boiler, and the other one is the backup boiler. New boiler was put in 2013, which was, it's permitted at 9 ppm. And the backup boiler, we took a restriction to limit our gas usage at around 9,000 MMBTU per year under the Rule 1146. So as you could imagine, because the backup boiler 2 is backup, it inherently is limited around 25 to 30% any total capacity what the main boiler can feed. So naturally, the way the physical limitations of backup number boiler 2 is, it can only run around 25 to 30% of the total capacity what boiler number 1 can do. We have total 8 autoclaves. Main boiler can supply steam to all 8 autoclaves, but the backup boiler can only supply to maybe at the most 2 to 3 autoclaves at a time. So that's what I mean, like inherently you are limited around 25 to 30% of the total capacity what steam can be supplied to the autoclaves. Facility has total 32 active permits for raw material receiving, mixing, our sheet plant, and then the curing process, which mostly includes the autoclaves and boilers. And then we also have the finishing line where we use some of the coating product. Most of our systems are controlled by the back, either the bag house or the low NOx burner, and we also have a control for the autoclave.
One moment, Senator.
Do you have a copy of that document you have for members of the board?
Yeah, we only have one copy if that's,
Oh, you only brought one copy.
would you like
I
copy?
would like to have a copy as you go.
Could make copy from the.
Okay, then we will
When
have
you
to
explain
take.
the operation, I could follow it.
Yeah,
no
sorry about
worries,
that,
no
yeah,
worries.
yeah, sure, we'll take a break here.
Okay, so we will go off the record to make those copies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair? Yes,
We're back on the record. Senator?
right. You're in the process of just explaining the operation of the autoclaves, how it operates, and you were discussing sheets and the planks in the stores, inside, outside. Like, well, you got that explained well on item number 5, paragraph number 3. So as you go through it, and you have the diagram here also, you can be more detailed and I can understand it a lot better.
Okay, but right now, we're still in the opening statement. I'm trying to make it be as brief as possible so we can get into the hearing and hear from the district.
Explaining it.
I understand that. We're trying to bend it a little bit because they're prepared a different way, but let's try to get through the opening, and then we'll get more in depth if we need to. This is is this the same as what we've seen on the? Yes. Okay. We received a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, and we're going to mark that as exhibit number 1. And I believe Mr. Masahara, Mr. Masaraha, you were speaking.
Yeah, again, this is Vineet Masuraha with Trinity Consultants. I was on slide number 8, just giving an overview of various permits at the facility. There are 32 active permits at the facility, from raw material receiving and storage, and the mixing plant where we are mixing various material, and then we have our sheet lines, 2 sheet lines there, and then the curing process, which cures these green sheets, and then the autoclaves where the steam gets used, and then the green sheets are cured. And then then after this process, the sheets are brought into the plant for finishing, where we apply the coating, and then we have some heat source like the drying ovens, and then we eventually produce our final product, which gets shipped out. We are here for the requesting variance for boiler number 2. There are two boilers at the facility. One is a primary or main boiler, which is permitted at 9 ppm NOx limit, and then the total natural gas limit of around 40 million cubic feet per month. And then the backup boiler is permitted at 20 ppm NOx at 90,000 therms per year. Both boilers are subject to Rule 1146 and then have been in compliance with the Rule 1146 requirement, which includes the tune-ups and then conducting the source performance test on these periodic performance tests on both boilers. I'll let Cody explain what happened with our backup boiler.
This is Cody Hawley, plant manager from Fontana. So what can be seen in the presentation there, going from left to right. The first picture is a picture of the front door of the boiler. On the top part of that picture, you can see the motor right in the center. Connected on the back side of that is the blower fan for the boiler. This puts the air to the burner and sends the steam out to the line. This is where the catastrophic failure occurred. We did find some cracked welding on the fan wheel that we believe is what caused that fan to come apart and partially go through the door. The repair that will be required for this is a replacement of that front door, the fan blower, and then the motor will be replaced as well on that. We had been conducting the annual inspections and quarterly vibration on this as recently as 2 weeks that the previous vibration was done on this fan wheel. No change across those four vibration surveys. Timelines pictured, so the boiler failed on the 30th. That was Monday afternoon. On Thursday, we contacted Trinity and saw that we were going to need to look for a variance, that the failure was more catastrophic and lead times were much greater than what we had for operating time on that boiler. We had also begun bringing in RF McDonald, which is our service company, and also FM Global, which is the company that would certify the boiler. So that put us on the path to be in here. Current best estimates are a 8 to 12 week. More recent quote has come in that we're looking at 12 to 14 weeks. We will try and expedite and get a quicker than that, but that's currently what we're looking at for the time to repair the primary boiler. And that would be for a front door replacement and the fan wheel replacement. Let's see. So the proposed plan now, we would like to operate boiler number 2 at a reduced capacity compared to our boiler number 1. We are restricted just on the volume of gas that it can make, that we're only allowed to run 2 of our 6 autoclaves that we would normally run. And on that basis of the reduction in gas usage is why we're requesting the variance.
Thank you. Is that the end of the opening? And
I think
or-
we just wanted to summarize the projected emissions. This is Nick Zuzaklis.
We can wait, we can wait for that if
Okay.
we, because
Yeah.
that wouldn't be as relevant in the good cause findings. But is there anything else you wish to summarize? We'll come back to you for additional evidence and testimony. But anything else in your opening?
I think our thoughts are that we could not foresee this failure. It appears to be a structural catastrophic failure of the welding that is beyond our ability to gauge. We were doing as Cody said, the normal vibration checks, and everything looked normal, and all the kind of diagnostic things we were doing is just part of our ongoing due diligence.
Thank you very much. I turn to Ms. Barrera for the district's opening on good cause.
The district reserves its position at this time until hearing more testimony about good cause. In particular, based on a conversation I had on Friday, it's my understanding that the facility has not yet reached the 90,000 therm limit of the permit. I'm not sure when that limit is going to be reached, and I think that may be important in the analysis of good cause. You know, when we look at when the failure occurred and when they'll be in violation, and had they moved perhaps earlier. I'm just not sure of the timeline yet, so I'll reserve on good cause.
Thank you very much. Mr. Zuzuklius, would you like to at this time have any of either yourself or any of your witnesses give additional testimony on any of the 4 findings that we need to make on good cause? Or we could also ask questions. Your choice, how you wish to conduct this.
Did we present it all? Okay. I think we've made our key points on the good cause opening statement.
Okay, thank you. So I'll turn it to Ms. Barrera for any questions you may have. And whoever thinks you're most capable of answering a particular question, just please state your name, and so that we are very clear on the record who is answering.
All right.
Okay. And I'll just ask questions. I'm not sure who will be answering. When was the boiler number 1, the boiler that broke down, last inspected? What's the date of the last inspection?
Are you talking for a mechanical or operational inspection or for a NOx?
For its operations, its mechanical operations?
Okay. This is Cody Hawley. We have 2. So a vibration analysis was performed September 18th was the most recent of 2019. Vibration analysis was performed on that motor and fan wheel.
Okay. And can you describe what a vibration analysis is?
Yeah, so we use a third party from Balancing Services, a company out of the Seattle area. They look for peak vibration data based on bearing speed or rotating equipment speeds. So they were looking at a tri-axis measurement, looking for defects within the bearing, fan unbalance, looseness in the motor, looseness in the fan, buildup on the fan, those kind of things.
And what did that third party find with respect to that vibration analysis?
That the analysis was in line with the previous three. We did not have any high peaks. The only other finding showed minor fan unbalance or early motor bearing defects, but was within spec for the speed and type of equipment.
Did they make any recommendations for repairs or replacement of parts?
No.
And prior to that, when was the vibration analysis performed prior to that September 18 one?
515. And then also on 114, or I'm sorry, 124 of 2019, and then 10/3 of 2018.
And when was boiler number 1 first installed?
Scotty, the boiler was first installed in 2013. Towards the end of 2013, became operational in 2014.
And was it a brand-new boiler?
Yes.
And what's the expected lifespan of a boiler, of this boiler?
I do not know exact.
Is there another witness that can answer that
Well,
question?
I don't know on this specific Nick Zuziklis, but the boilers under proper maintenance, I mean, we have boilers in the company that are 20, 30 years old that are running fine.
Okay. And during the opening, it was mentioned that the boiler that was replaced, that this one replaced, also had a catastrophic failure? Is that correct?
Nick Zuziklis, that is correct, in, I think, circa 2008.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the cause of that failure?
I don't-
This is again Vineet Masra. We do not know. We can go back and look into what was the cause. It was in 2008, but that boiler is no longer there because that boiler was replaced by the main boiler. We can look. We did ask for a variance, and it was approved in 2008.
Okay. Do you know how old that boiler was when it failed?
Nick Zuziklis, I believe that was the original boiler from the plant installation in the 80s.
And this is Vineet Masra. The boiler was not replaced because of the age itself. A boiler was replaced to meet the reclaim 1146 limit of 9 ppm.
And the boiler, boiler number 1, I heard testimony that it provided steam to 8 autoclaves at one point, and then at another point I thought I heard it provided, or somewhere in the petition, in the PowerPoint I saw 6 autoclaves. How many autoclaves does it provide steam to?
This is Cody Hawley. So we have 8 possible autoclaves. That was part of the original design with that boiler. We ran with 6 under full capacity operations with 2 spare.
Okay. And with respect to boiler number 2, has it reached the 90,000 therm limit yet?
And this is Vineet Masra. Not yet. our estimate would be somewhere around the early part of November or late this month from the day boiler 2 was used. We do not know the exact date when we will exceed that 90,000 limit. We are estimating sometime in early November.
So at this point in time, the facility is not in violation of either the permit condition or Rule 1146?
That's correct, ma'am.
Okay. And you don't expect that violation to occur until November?
We expect if we exceed that limit of 90,000 therms per year sometime in November, we expect we will be out of compliance through the end of this year through December 31st, 2019. And then we would have, starting January 1st, that limits resets on itself, so we will get another 90,000 therms for the 2020. Therefore, we would not need the variance after January 1st, 2020, assuming RF McDonald has done its job, what they are proposing to do in next 8 to 12 weeks.
Okay. The short variance hearing in this case is currently scheduled for October 31st, 2019. Do you have any reason to believe that you will be in violation by October 31st?
Hard to predict, but best case estimate would be no. We should not be exceeding the limit on October 31st. It will be right after that, sometime in the first week in November.
Okay. I have no further questions.
I have questions, but I think we could probably limit, at this point, the hearing, because I think we're hearing evidence that, in fact, the violation is not imminent, which is one of the major findings we need to find, because you would not need interim relief until you actually can be heard with a noticed hearing. So before we go further, let me ask, is there anything you wish to present at this time contrary to that, as to a need for an interim variance, given that we've just heard that you won't need it? In fact, we've heard it's very unlikely that you need it, and certainly not imminent. Okay. Would you like to go and take a break and be sure of that before we move forward?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Yeah, 2
Okay.
minutes, 3 minutes.
Sure.
Thank you.
Take your time. We'll go off the record. we're back on the record.
All right, Nick Zuzaklis, we conferred and looked at our numbers, and I think maybe some of the initial thoughts on our part were we were using some initial, when the catastrophic failure first occurred, we were thinking more in lines of the natural gas usage of boiler 1, but when we actually started looking and delving into the details, boiler number 2 is severely restricted, so when you put the math to it, we're likely safe through the first week, into the first week in November, from what it looks like now in terms of not going over the existing limit. So no violation until that point. So I think it takes us through October 31st safely in looking at the numbers.
Ms. Barrera, did you?
Yeah, based on that, I don't think that there is good cause to issue this variance. I will say that the district does appreciate, we do want facilities to act quickly. It appears that they did, and before they, knew everything. So I think I want to commend them for that. But, they know more now, and we don't want facilities to wait till they know everything before moving for a variance. But now that they know more, I think that it is clear that there is no good cause to hold this hearing in the absence of notice to the public.
And that's not a bad finding to make. You don't need it, so we couldn't find good cause to hold a hearing today. But I also echo, thank you for coming so prepared with your presentation materials and all three of you being here today.
Thank you.
Board members, I think we'll just I'll make a motion, unless anyone else has anything else they wish to say. And I know Mr. Balagopalan has something he'd like to say, but we can wait till after the motion. So the finding of good cause will not be able to be made, and that's because there is no imminent prospect of a violation, and certainly not before the short variance could be heard with a noticed hearing. So based on that, I'll make the motion that in the matter of James Hardie Building Products, Inc., case number 5694-2, I move that we dismiss the request for what became an interim variance without prejudice, which means we'll be back for the short, based on an inability to make the good finding based on a lack of imminent violation. Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Bernstein seconds. Is there any discussion on that motion? No. Ms. Verdugo-Peralta, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Balagopalan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Senator, how do you vote? He votes aye. Dr. Bernstein votes? Aye. And I vote yes. Motion passes 5-0. Mr. Balagopalan had something to say about rules and what you should discuss perhaps with the district after this hearing.
Yeah, I was going to point out 1146, Rule 1146E4 specifically, and I think Mr. Masura kind of indicated that you get a reset of the 90,000 terms every year, and I think this is something you may want to check based on E4 with the district staff to see if that's the case, and come back when you come back for the short variance, address that.
Ms. Barrera?
We have already had that discussion because they've requested relief under C5, and C5 is essentially an exemption from other requirements in that rule. And as they exceed the 90,000, I think that they lose the exemption, which means other requirements kick in, and I think it's those other requirements that they probably need relief from during the short variance hearing. So.
Correct. So just to be prepared that it might be different relief than what you were seeking today.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming, and thank you for being so prepared. Board members, any other business? Okay, we are adjourned.